Hello guys, and welcome back to another Meet Your Maker video. So you might notice sometimes when you make a base in Meet Your Maker, it might not be getting the amount of raids that you thought it would. Some bases will do amazing, like this one where I had 79 raid attempts on it. And then some bases will do horrible with only 13 raid attempts, and this base has been here for a long time, and yet nobody seems to raid it. So I think I kind of figured out the trick that you can do to get people to click on your base and raid it more. So when you're looking to raid bases, you have three categories. You have normal, dangerous, which is like medium difficulty, and then brutal, which is supposed to be the toughest ones. Now basically every single base I have is all brutal. 4,500 to 6,000 capacity. The only one I do not have brutal is the one I have 10 prestige with only 2,500 capacity. And that is because not everybody likes to play a brutal base. Not everyone is that good at the game where they can complete a base with that difficulty. But what you can do is create a base in the normal category, and eventually as you prestige it, it levels up to the dangerous category, and then you could bring it up to the brutal. Let me show you what I mean. So I have this base here. This base, when I made it, it started off as normal difficulty, which means the easiest. And let me show you why. It's a very small base. The way to the gen mat is just up this ramp here, around the corner, down, and right there. And when you start off with the normal size base, you won't be able to put that many guards or traps down because your capacity will be limited. So what I thought I'll do is I'll make something that's very close quarters, like tight spaces, and just have traps and guards, where I could put them, as well as traps on the ramp. So you just have to really get creative. And if we turn on all the kills here, we can see everyone that ever died at this base, and you could see it throughout the whole base. Look at all of these kills that this base has racked up. So when I started this base as a normal base, the easiest difficulty, it was getting a lot of raids immediately. And then as you prestige it, you get extra capacity to add a little bit more traps. And then you can see on the top right, it now moved us up to dangerous, which means now we're in the medium category, because the more traps you add, eventually it will lead you to the next category, which will be either dangerous or brutal. So right now our base is in the dangerous category, which is like medium difficulty, but let's say we were to place a few guards here because we do have some extra capacity that we can use. So if we place some guards down, let's say just like that, then you could see on the top right, it just changed from dangerous to brutal, which means that my base now went from the medium difficulty to the most hardest one, which is the brutal category. And if you want to stop that from happening, we will have to get rid of some guards or some traps to bring it back to the dangerous level. And you can see now it went back to dangerous, which means the medium category. Like we have 500 extra capacity. What I can do is just use regular blocks to extend the base size. Another thing I would say is when you have your base finished, try to make it to where it has a unique design on it. So you can see before we pick a base, every base has their own picture, and you can see a preview of what the base looks like. I tend to look for bases that have a nice cool design because that way I feel like it's going to be unique and a challenge. So you can see some of these bases, look normal. Some of them you could see they have some creative detail in it that makes you want to click into it. So for example, for my bases, I always put the YouTube logo. So maybe that makes people think like, oh, it's a YouTuber's base, let me go try to rate it. And for some reason that attracts a lot of people. So I put it basically on almost all of my bases, or just put a picture that would stand out so it looks like a unique kind of base. And lastly, sometimes your base might be depleting fast to where you don't have time for people to really rate it because your base is depleting at a fast rate. Here's a tip you can do to help your base last longer before it gets depleted, hopefully leading to more raids. So when you go to claim a new burial site and you want to buy a new site to do your base, at the bottom of each plot of land, you can see it says either weapons, hardware, suits, or guards, and it has a number there. So for example, let's say the first one has weapons and the number is 6,750. That is how much gen mat your base is going to have. But if you buy this one, let's say Walnut Creek down here, this one has hardware for 9,000, which means your base will have 9,000 gen mat compared to the 6,700. And if you have 9,000 gen mat base, it will last longer before it gets depleted, leaving it active for a longer time. Hopefully more people will start to rate it. I just figured this out recently, so I only have one base that is 9,000, and so far it seemed to be staying up pretty long, and it seemed to get a decent amount of raids so far. So yeah, try to buy it where it says 9,000 or like a good decent number to where your base can stay active for a longer period of time. If you were to buy one that's like a hardcore one that's like 4,500, your base is probably going to get depleted a lot faster compared to others. And then I guess the last tip would be is try to prestige your base to at least level 5. When you get your base to level 5, then you can become a champion base, and champion bases seem to get rated a lot more, especially if you have a champion base in the normal or dangerous category. Even the brutal category, you'll get a good amount of raids. And if you guys know any tips that I didn't mention here, drop them in the comments below. Let's help each other out, and hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Thanks for watching.